I'm going to be using regular round silver coated copper wire, and this one is a 20 gauge, and then I've got a 24 gauge, also a silver wire, and a few jump rings, and I've got 5 amethyst beads and a rose quartz heart. And then you're just going to need a round nose pliers and some flush cutters and a ruler. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking some of the 20 gauge wire and just taking a little cloth and straightening it, and at the same time cleaning it because they always seem to be a wee bit dirty. And then you're going to cut 29 centimeters of the wire. I'm just taking my flush cutters and cutting it, and cut 4 pieces like that. I've got this really tiny little round nose pliers, and what I'm doing is putting it right at the end so that you can't feel any of the wire sticking out the top. And because I want really small loops, I'm putting it as close to the end, and then just rotate it. When you can't go any further, just rotate it again, so you get this tiny little loop like that. Then take the other side and thread it through that little loop, and then once again right at the end, taking your pliers, make sure nothing's sticking at the top, that it's flat, and just rotate. But don't go all the way around, so that you've still got a wee gap like that, so that you can put that wire through the gap. And now just close the gap. Now take your wire and just straighten the bottom part a wee bit like that, and then put it back onto your ruler, and then we're going to be measuring it at 8 centimeters. I'm using this tiny little flat nose pliers to do this, and just grab it at the 8 centimeter mark, and then just bend the wire like that. Now once again straightening the wire, so I'm just using my cloth to get it a wee bit straight. So where you've marked and bent at the 8 centimeter mark, just put that on the end of the ruler, and then measure in so that you get 10 centimeters, and then just catch it at the 10 centimeter mark and bend the wire, and then straighten the other side, and then you should have a triangle that looks like that. Now just make the 4 of them. Now cut 2 pieces of the 20 gauge wire. One you want to cut at 60 centimeters long, and the other one you need to cut at 80 centimeters long. And now what we're going to do is just fold it over at the end so that it's the same length, and then I'm going to put it into my drill so that we can twist these wires. So just putting it in a small distance, it doesn't have to be very, and then tighten the chuck. I've only put it in about 3 millimeters, and then take a pair of pliers and hold it. When you're holding the wire, so that you don't have a tendency of pulling it, hold your pliers upright like that. So now holding your wires right at the end of the wire, then just start rotating the drill. So you can do it as tight as you want or as loose. I want to get mine that it's not very tight for the one of the 60 centimeters. Now do the next one exactly the same. So I've done both the wires and they're both quite coarse. So with the one that is the 80 centimeter, now 40 centimeter, you're going to take it, place it on your ruler, and then get your little pliers, and at the 8 cm mark, that's not including the little loop at the end, so make sure that you're starting it where there is no loop. Take it at the 8 cm mark and then grab it there and bend the wires. So you want to do a 90-degree bend on the wire, and then take from the bend, you're going to do another 8 cm and bend it as well. Also in an upright, so that we're making a little square to go at the base of the pyramid. So 8 cm, then again, and bending that as well. So we made a little bit extra, so now we've got our square, which is for the base of the pyramid. We just put that aside for the time being. Now we're going to wire the heart up. So I've got the round nose pliers again, and I'm going to be making a little heart. So going in 2 cm, just bend your wire so that it's upright like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this one to make it into the shape of a heart. So that's rotating this small one. So you're just going to bend a little loop at the end. You can make your heart the shape whatever you want, if you want it to have a slightly bigger head on it, or if you want to have it a bit narrow. So then hold it at the end and bend your wire upright so that you've got it looking like that. And now bend the other side over to form the heart like that. And now you can straighten if you want this part slightly bigger, or if you want it slightly smaller. Just work it so that you've got a heart that you're happy with. So I've made the little heart, and now take your stone and you're going to place the heart in the position where you want it. I'm putting it to the right of my heart, so I'm placing it there. Don't worry about it being open here, because we're actually going to be closing that in with the thinner wire. So this is just making the start of the cage. So holding your stone there, and bend the heart around so that it takes the shape of the stone. And then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap this wire around the stone so that it's coming up at the back to the top of the left hand part of the heart. So it's sitting like that. And now rotating over, we're going to put another heart on this side to hold the stone in place. So now holding it at the back, just start bending your wire to make another heart at the back. When you've got the shape that you want, then bend the wire upright. To make it a little bit easier to do your heart at the back, position your heart in the front like that, and then just put some masking tape on it just to hold it in place while you're working on the back one so that it doesn't shift. So you get into the back. So once you've bent your first loop, now you're going to take your pliers and hold it where you want the heart to be, and then bend the wire upright. So you've got your first part of the heart, and now make the other loop. So just bending the wires around, and then you get your heart. Now you can remove the masking tape. And and you've got your hearts on your stone like that. And now what we're going to do is, where our heart crosses over, we're going to bend the wire around the stone again so that it's coming up through the center of the heart of the main stone, like that. So that's what it looks like at the back. And now just cut the end piece. So now once we've got our heart partly wrapped like that, we're going to take the stone out so that we can start securing it. So taking the 24 gauge wire, I'm going to take about 20 centimeters to work with. So just straightening the wire, taking my cloth and just giving it a bit of a wipe down as well. So now taking our stone out, what we're going to do is we're going to start on this part of the heart. So taking your 24 gauge wire, put a little bit of a tail there so you've got something to hold on to. So now what we're going to do is around this part of the wire, we're going to go around about 2 or 3 times just to secure it in place. Try and make sure that you don't kink your wires. And then just pulling that tight, and again. Making sure that you're tying on the other side of the tail so that you're going towards the heart. So I'm going to go around once more. And pulling it nice and tight. And now we're going to be going up and around the heart so that we can start securing that to the base part. And then go around that 3 times. So going around the heart once and then bringing it down and going along the bottom one and put 2 rotations on the bottom as well. That's this bottom part of the heart, just to hold the heart in place for the time being, and then we'll go around the heart again. So we've got our rotations in, and now we go around the heart. And just go around the heart 3 times. Making sure that you get your wires nice and tight so that they're close to each other. Like that. Now that we've secured the bottom part of the heart, you can cut the wire and then try and poke it into the back over there. Just that little hole there at the back. So I'm just going to trim that. And then take my little pliers and put that wire in that little hole at the back so it doesn't scratch anything. So just like that. And the same with the others, with the tail. Just take that, take it to the back and put it in the back as well, and then squash them down. So that's the front heart secured in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just attach the heart over here in the same manner by just going around 3 times, and then at the back as well we're going to attach here as well. So taking your wire again, have a wee tail, you got something to hold on to, and then just attach by just going round a few times. So I'm crossing it over now, so going through the other side, so that it's going around this wire and through the other side. So I'm just making like a little cross on the wires to secure them so that they don't move. And then back to the start. And then we can cut those wires so it's all tight, nice and secure. I'm going to go around just once more on the one side and then finish in the back and then cut my wires here so that they're sitting right inside. Same with the tail, just going around once more and finishing it in the back. And that's our back part all secured now. This one I'm actually going to be doing on the stone so that it holds my stone nicely in place. Just make sure that your wires are nice and tight. And now we can cut those wires. So once again, just trimming them and then putting the wires to the back. I'm just taking that and pulling the wire and slightly turning it so that when I push it down, it'll go straight behind like that. Same with the other wire, just bringing it around to the other side. Taking the pliers, slightly bending it and then just pushing it under so that there's no sharp edges anyway. And then our stone is in place. And now pull the wire that's coming around the side here as tight as you can, going over the stone so that it's nice and tight, so that your stone is sitting so it's not moving. And now what we're going to do, this is the tricky part, we're going to cut this wire and then we're going to unravel it so that we can attach it to the back on 2 sides to hold the stone completely tight. So just cutting your wire. So I'm cutting it about 2 centimeters because I don't want to run out. And now, holding it tight, take your pair of pliers and just unravel this part of the wire. Until you get to the center point there, so that you can thread it under now and just secure the wire. So I'm just going to thread the wires underneath now, one on each side. And then pushing it as tight as you can, so you can get these wires really tight. Once you've got the wires nice and tight through the back, take the one wire, which you have two different lengths because of the way they're twisted, take the longer wire and bend it so that it's going to lie along the back down the center like that. And the other wire, we're going to just finish it by wrapping it around this longer wire, so just wrapping it nice and tight around that wire. So making sure that your wires are really nice and tight and sitting flat, and then just trim this wire when you can't go any further around without getting injured. So I'm going to just trim this wire now. And then flatten it. So we've got our piece sticking up like that. And now we're just going to flatten that slightly and then put a bend in it so that it goes upright. And then we can thread our bead onto that. And now at the top of where you've secured your bead in place, all we're going to do is, I'm taking a slightly bigger part of my round nose pliers and we're just going to bend a loop onto that. So holding it so that you don't feel anything at the top, rotate it when you can't go any further, put it in again and rotate, and that closes the loop like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a wee bit of masking tape and just tape the whole pyramid together, and then take your 24 gauge wire, and you need about 1 meter. When you start it at the bottom so that you've got a little bit of a tail to hold it down so that it doesn't slide up the wire. So just wind it around once or twice and then start winding around these two wires. Try and make sure that you've got the two wires that are lying flat next to each other. So this triangle is lying flat on this side and the other one's on the other side, so that you don't get a curl in your wires. And just wind it round and round so that you get a nice finish on it. Just make sure you get your wires nice and tight, and then just attach them all by just going up the shaft like this, all the way up, and then just do all 4 of them. Once you get to the top, just leave the tail loose. We're going to use that later. Now that you've completed all the sides, winding them, it's time to put the base on. So the square base that we made. So we're going to just put that on, and we're going to wind it and attach it in exactly the same way as we did with the others. So once again I'm using the 24 gauge and I've cut about 1 meter off, and now we're going to start attaching that. So I'm going to cut the little tip now and start attaching that. So I'm just going to get that in place first. Just secure it on the opposite side so that it doesn't shift. And then just start attaching by rotating it around. I'm going to be going through, I don't know whether you can see this. The grooves are going in that direction. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the wire and putting it in between the groove like that. And then the next one will go through the next groove. And just continue wiring it all like that. The other side. So I've put one loop around the base that we're putting on, and now I'm putting a loop around the other side to hold it in place for the attachment of our bead. So we're just going to take one of the beads and thread it onto the wire. So we've got our bead on at the end, and now I'm going to take that little bead and we're going to bring it around through the bottom of the base and then over the top, around the side. So that's one of the shafts this side. And then down past the bead on the other side, and then up, and then we're going to be back into the position to start attaching the base. For this one I'm going to be going on the same pattern as the wire, so where it crosses over like that, that's where this wire is going to be going through. So just like that. And then just continue all the way to the other side. Once you reach the other side, now thread on another bead. And once again the same, putting it right at the end to make the little foot. We're going to take the bead and wrap it around the wire on adjacent to it. So just wrapping it once around that side, and then coming back through round the pyramid side, and then back over so that the bead is secure. So both of them are standing in the same position like that. And now just continue wrapping the next section of the base. Once you get to the end, just cut your wire and stick it into that little hole over there so you don't have any sharp edges anywhere. Depending on what position you want your heart to dangle at, which I'm going for about that. So it's in the middle. So now what we're going to do is take our jump rings and join them together to give us the distance that we want. If you haven't joined the right amount, you can always join later, but the first one we have to put in at the top. So I'm just going to join my jump rings together, I'm using 2 pairs of pliers to split them. So just hold it and then twist. And then just connect as many as you want. So to finish the top, you've got your 4 wires from the 4 sides that you've done, and now take one of the wires, it doesn't matter which one, and thread it through the center so that it's coming out in the middle. And now we're going to attach those jump rings that we just put together. So threading them on and bringing the wire back up, so your jump rings are sitting in the middle like that. Now the wires on the 4 sides, what you want to do is cross them over so that they're on the alternative sides. Sorry, my video footage was corrupt for this particular part. So all I've done is taken the top wires and I've threaded them over and under and over and under all the way around with the first wire, and when I've got to the same point again, I've gone under and over, so that I've got a bit of a weaving pattern like that going on. And then you just do that with all the wires until they're finished. Now that we've got all the wires secured on the top and everything is in place, we can put our heart in the center. So taking one of your jump rings and then just attaching the jump ring to the other jump rings. And then close it, and there's the heart in the center of the pyramid. And that's our Love Evoking Talisman, all completed. I've used a beautiful rose quartz heart, and I'm going with the power of 3, so I've got 3 hearts, one on the front, one on the back, and to amplify the power of the rose quartz, I'm going with the power of 5. So I've got 5 amethyst beads, and to give it even more amplification, I've put it inside a pyramid. So that is my little Love Evoking Talisman. To make it a wee bit more powerful, what you can do is you can put an incantation in the center of the pyramid. Just remember, you can't make anybody fall in love with you. This is only to attract love to you. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.